Hey distinction students, civic education with a perfect tutor. So in this video we are looking at a very simple topic, a very short topic, that is social challenges. Social challenges. It's a very short topic, it will be dangerous within this video. So what are social challenges? These are simply issues and problems facing human beings today. For example, child abuse, sexual assault, teenage pregnancies, and gender violence. These are social challenges. Now, let us start with child abuse. What is child abuse? Child abuse refers to any form of ill treatment of a child, ill treatment or mistreating a child. Now, this ill treatment can either be physical, mental, or verbal. So let us look at physical abuse and mental abuse. Physical abuse refers to any action that causes physical impairment, such as battery, slapping, pinching of the skin, pulling ears, burning of the skin, biting the child. Now, what of mental abuse? Mental abuse could be lack of love, neglecting the child, insults, shouting at the child, calling the child those bad nicknames. That is mentally abusing the child. So physical abuse directed on the body, then mental abuse directed on the mind or soul of the child. Now, let us look at some forms of child abuse. Some forms of child abuse. The first one is child defilement. So what is defilement? So child defilement is the act of having unlawful sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 16 years. So it includes the following: touching private parts of the child, making the child touch or play with sexual organs of an elder person, showing children pictures of naked people for purpose of exciting them sexually. Now, such an act is called indecent assault. Then another form of child abuse is child battering. Child battering. So this is simply the form of child abuse where someone beats a child, often beating the child. Then child neglect. What is child neglect? Child neglect is a situation where children are not taken care of by their parents or guardians. Sometimes children are abandoned. Then we also have child labor. Child labor refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to children. Giving a heavy thing to a child to say, no, you have to lift this. 20 liters contain of water. You have to lift this. That is child labor. Child abuse in form of child labor. Then child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is any sexual act imposed on a child or young person by a close relative and includes fondling a child's genitals, making the child fondle the adult's genitals, and having sexual intercourse with a child. This is child sexual abuse. Now, if a stranger commits any of these things that we have mentioned here to a child, for example, fondling a child's genitals or making the child fondle the genitals of an elderly person, this is called sexual assault. Sexual assault. Apart from that, we also have child trafficking. This is the illegal transportation and selling of children within or outside the country. Now, for what? Prostitution, pornography, forced labor, crime, or business involving selling of body organs. That is child trafficking. Child prostitution. Child prostitution is sexual exploitation of children. It can be forced or voluntary. So, forced child prostitution is where children are compelled to sell sexual services, for example, in hotels, brothels, or streets, etc., etc. They are forced here to do it. They are forced to sell their sexual services. Now, we also have voluntary child prostitution, where girls sell sexual services for a living or in order to meet their daily needs. That is voluntary child prostitution. If it's not a child, then we can just call it voluntary prostitution. Yeah. Now, Ways of addressing child abuse. How can we end child abuse? Number one, legislation on child labor. There should be a law that is specifically addressing child labor. Then enacting stiff punishment for child defilers, including those who batter or neglect their children. Just that this parent is not taking care of his or her children. Punish those people. Give them stiff punishments. At least even other friends will see to say, no, this is not good. Neglecting children is not good. Battering, beating children is not a good act. It's okay to correct our children when they are wrong. Yeah, but there is just that kind of beating which is to that extent which is not allowed. So at least there should be stiff punishment for child defilers and those who batter or neglect their children. Sensitizing the community about child abuse, the effects of child abuse, reporting cases of child abuse. Now we'll look at the institutions that address child abuse where you can report to. Speaking about the problems, then apart from that, we can also encourage victims to go to victim support unit. All these things can help us address child abuse. Now, some of the institutions that address child abuse. Number one, victim support unit. So Zambia Police Service, now under the Zambia Police Service, we have victim support unit. Then apart from that, we have Young Women's Christian Association, Young Men Christian Association, and Zambia Civic Education Association. All these institutions address child abuse. So apart from child abuse, we also have rape. Said social challenges are issues or problems facing human beings today. Now, let us look at rape. What is rape? So you have to be very careful with rape and defilement. Defilement is having sexual intercourse with a girl who is under the age of 16. Now, rape is an act of forcing a person to have sexual intercourse against his or her own will. So, even someone who is above 16 can be raped here. That's the only difference between rape and defilement. But for defilement, the limit is 16 years old. So for rape, as long as you have sexual intercourse with someone without his or her own will, on consent to say, okay, yeah, I'm willing to do this, then that is called rape. Now, ways of resisting rape. How can you resist rape? Attention-seeking tactics, shouting, screaming, or trying to get someone to help. You should have tactics to seek attention from the people that can help you in case you are in such a problem. The non-cooperation tactics, for example, refusing to take your clothes off. Someone just takes you to their own house and then they start telling you not to take out your clothes. You should be non-cooperative in that case. You should ask, why am I removing my clothes? Psychological tactics, for example, reasoning with a rapist, trying to frighten him, disgust him, or gain sympathy. Physical resistance, fighting back, or struggling. Possible reactions after rape. What happens when someone has been raped? Shock. Some people get shocked. Loss of control. Feelings of powerlessness. Unmaturely calm. Trying to act normally. Problems with sleep. For example, they have nightmares sometimes. Then fear. They will just be looking at any man as a rapist. That's the thing. Now, what to do after rape? What do you do after you have been raped? Report to the police. Get a medical report from the nearest health center. Visit a counselor. Seek legal advice. This is what we can do. This is what you can do after being raped. And that is the end of the topic. You can research more on social challenges. It has been your perfect 2 times the Cupid CJ. See you in the next video.